From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. For our top story, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday announced that Houthi rebels released 17 Filipino seafarers after they were abducted at the Red Sea in November 2023. In a social media post, the president said the 17 Filipino seafarers are safe and now under the care of the Philippine Embassy in Muscat, Oman. They are expected to go home to their families in the Philippines shortly. The chief executive expressed his joy and relief over the release, which marks the end of the seafarers' 429-day ordeal. President Marcos also extended his gratitude to His Majesty Haitham bin Tariq, Sultan of Oman, and his government for their mediation efforts, which played a crucial role in securing the release and safe passage of the Filipino crew members through Oman. In November 2023, Yemeni rebels seized MV Galaxy Leader in the Red Sea and took hostage its 25 crew members, including 17 Filipinos, in retaliation for Israel's offensive in Gaza. President Marcos commended various Philippine government agencies and private entities for their persistent efforts in collaboration with foreign governments and organizations. Their collective work contributed to what he described as a momentous development after more than a year of intense negotiations. As the seafarers' captivity ends, Marcos took the opportunity to underscore the importance of the country's seafaring workforce and their protection under Philippine law. The president cited Republic Act or RA number 12021, the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers, which he signed into law to ensure the rights and welfare of Filipino seafarers, promoting equal opportunities, education, training, and development in the maritime industry. Meanwhile, the Department of Foreign Affairs or DFA said it would issue a formal statement on Thursday morning. Israel and Hamas struck a ceasefire deal that took effect on Sunday, allowing the release of several Israeli hostages and Palestinian detainee exchanges, a breakthrough after more than a year of war in Gaza. The deal covers a 6-week ceasefire in Gaza, with negotiations for extension expected to begin in the coming weeks.
Dateline Malacañang.
Meanwhile, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has called on the government and key stakeholders to prioritize the growth of the semiconductor and electronics industry, highlighting its substantial potential to boost the economy. In a meeting with the Private Sector Advisory Council, Education and Jobs Sector Group, or PSACEJSG, in Malacañang on Tuesday, the President discussed updates on previous recommendations and new proposals concerning the semiconductor industry. President Marcos emphasized the need for a stronger focus on the sector to enhance its contributions to the country's economy. One approach to advancing the industry could be through incentives similar to the provisions of the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises or CREATE Act, which has helped attract investments to other industries like car manufacturing. The chief executive pointed out that unlike other sectors, the semiconductor industry was not specifically covered under the Create More law, which provides incentives to various industries. President Marcos Jr. then called for input from the private sector on what measures could be taken to strengthen the semiconductor industry. The PSAC-EJSG had earlier recommended reviewing the implementing rules and regulations of the Create More law to include provisions for the semiconductor sector. They presented a comprehensive roadmap for the country's semiconductor and electronics industry. Another key recommendation was the creation of a National Education and Workforce Development Plan or NAT plan, which President Marcos supported.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has affirmed the U.S. commitment to sustaining its trilateral cooperation with the Philippines and Japan under the administration of President Donald Trump. The new U.S. top diplomat made the reiteration during a bilateral meeting with Japan's Foreign Minister Iwaya Takeshi in Washington, D.C. on January 22nd. In a readout, the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, quote-unquote, the two ministers concurred on the importance of further developing coordination of like-minded countries, including Japan, U.S. Republic of Korea, Japan, Australia, India, U.S., and Japan, U.S., Philippines. A separate State Department statement said the two officials also discussed how the U.S. and Japan can work together to counter ongoing threats in the Indo-Pacific and around the world, including joint efforts against China's destabilizing actions. Tokyo earlier emphasized the need for U.S. presence in Asia, especially amid what it described as an increasingly severe strategic environment in the region. In his visit to Manila on January 15th, Iwaya said the trilateral Japan-U.S.-Philippines relations are a highly important framework in realizing a free and open Indo-Pacific. During his confirmation hearing, Rubio described Beijing's actions in the Asia-Pacific as deeply destabilizing and urged China to refrain from carrying out anything rash or irrational when it comes to the Philippines or Taiwan if it is serious about stabilizing U.S.-China relations.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Department of Justice, or DOJ, on Wednesday said a remarkable success rate for conviction in criminal cases was recorded under the administration of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., partly due to programs to improve case building in the prosecution of cases. Speaking at the Bagong Pilipinas Ngayon news program, Justice Undersecretary Raul Vasquez said prosecution success rate registered by the DOJ in the end of 2024 reached 78%. This is higher compared to the average of 26% before the Marcos administration. Vasquez said this is because of the implementation of case build-up and higher degree of proof requirements. The Justice Undersecretary said the programs implemented also eliminate frivolous litigation and harassment suits on innocent persons. Vasquez said the DOJ is not here to make people suffer in imprisonment. He said their primary guidance is the vision of rule of law for all, the equal and fair elimination of criminality, the implementation of laws regardless of your stature in life, of your financial situation, of your social position, and of your influence.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA reported that the Marcos administration's anti-drug campaign has so far netted 52.5 billion pesos worth of narcotics and arrested 127,155 drug suspects. According to the PIDEA, from July 2022 to December 31, 2024, authorities have seized 6,764.56 kilograms of shabu, 80.76 kilograms of cocaine, 120,553 pieces of ecstasy tablets, and 6,247.70 kilograms of marijuana. The PIDEA also said it conducted 94,050 operations across the country during that period, where among those arrested were 8,138 high-value targets. A total of 1,266 drug dens and 2 clandestine shabu laboratories were dismantled during the same period. Meanwhile, 29,390 out of 42,000 villages have been declared drug-cleared, and 6,113 are in the process of being cleared. During his third State of the Nation address in July, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. pledged to continue the bloodless anti-narcotics drive, emphasizing that extermination is not a part of his administration's campaign.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Wednesday, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, said it is now investigating the reported sighting of another alleged underwater drone in the waters of Bohol Province last week. In a statement, AFP Public Affairs Office Chief Colonel Circes Trinidad said the AFP, through the Visayas Command, has prioritized the investigation into the reported discovery of an unidentified equipment floating at sea. Trinidad added that all appropriate AFP units and forces, particularly the Naval Forces Central, are actively coordinating and working together to gather details to ascertain the nature of this incident. As of this time, Trinidad said the AFP does not have the equipment in its possession to conduct a forensic investigation. Trinidad urged the individual who discovered the equipment and posted it on social media to immediately coordinate with the nearest military or naval units to ensure the proper handling and disposition of the item. He also encouraged the public to participate in safeguarding the country by promptly reporting any suspicious activities or discoveries to the proper authorities, including the AFP.
Dateline Malacañang.
And news from the Senate. Philippine Senate President Francis Chis Escudero on Wednesday clarified concerns regarding claims of irregularities in the General Appropriations Act, or GAA, providing insights on current legislative processes. Escudero dismissed speculations regarding blank entries in budget documents, emphasizing the legal precedence that only the final enrolled bill signed by the President is subject to constitutional scrutiny. The Senate President said no bicameral conference committee or committee report has ever been declared unconstitutional, reiterating that the judiciary only reviews laws. In a press briefing, Escudero said any blank spaces or typographical errors in the GAA cannot be released by the Department of Budget and Management or the National Treasury. He labeled claims of a blank check by Congress as baseless and misleading. Senator Escudero also expressed concern over the politicization of budget issues, speculating that such disputes may be driven by the approaching election season. He likewise clarified that the Committee on Appropriations of the House of Representatives and the Committee on Finance of the Senate are authorized to make corrections or add details to the report to ensure accuracy. Escudero also emphasized that if there is any conflict between the GAA and the bicameral report, the GAA as the enrolled bill prevails. He also said only laws like the GAA can be declared unconstitutional and never the Bicameral Conference Committee report. Drawing from Supreme Court decisions, Escudero reiterated the precedence of the enrolled bill, which bears the signatures of the House Speaker, Senate President, Secretary General of both chambers, and the President of the Philippines. Escudero assured the public that the budget process is transparent and compliant with constitutional standards, urging critics to review the established procedures and decisions of the courts regarding budget laws.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippine Department of Migrant Workers or DMW is reviewing its policies on deploying overseas Filipino workers or OFWs to Kuwait after the recent deaths of 2 Filipino workers. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak said the review aims to strengthen protective measures for household workers and ensure their welfare. In a press release on Wednesday, Kakdak said they are also trying to review the welfare of those OFWs who have been staying for years in Kuwait. Kakdak added the tragic deaths of Jenny Alvarado, who died allegedly after inhaling smoke from a heating system in their workplace, and Daphne Nakalaban, who was found dead after being reported missing for 2 months, prompted the review. The 2 cases are now being investigated by Kuwaiti authorities and the Philippine government. Also, the DMW is looking at the legal responsibilities of the service provider who mishandled the repatriation of Alvarado's remains. Currently, the DMW prohibits the deployment of first-time OFWs or those without previous overseas work experience to Kuwait as part of its efforts to safeguard Filipino workers from potential exploitation or danger. Measures such as pre-departure briefings, recruiter blacklisting, and electronic monitoring are being implemented to protect workers. Meanwhile, the department has assured support for the victims' families. Senator Raffy Tulfo earlier sought a total deployment ban of Filipino household workers to Kuwait, citing the need for stricter protections. The DMW continues to explore stricter policies to prevent further tragedies and uphold the safety of Filipino workers abroad.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Steph Vicente. Good day and stay safe, everyone.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.